Today, we're talking about why future you always pays for today's impulses. That $80 that you spent on takeout, the last minute late night DoorDash that felt exciting for you in the first 30 seconds, and that $40, $50 subscription that you just forgot about because you told yourself that future you would deal with it later. And no, this isn't a discipline talk, and it's not a just try harder type of video. Because what's actually happening here is not impulse control. It's something that most people never realize they're actually doing. Because most impulses aren't pleasure-seeking activities. They're more so relief-seeking behaviors that you implement. And this turns into not chasing happiness, but trying to stop discomfort at all times and in any situation that you can possibly think of. And once you see that, you'll understand why those decisions felt harmless in the moment, keep creating consequences for you in the future. So here's the reframe that changes everything. People think impulses are just about wanting things, buying, eating, scrolling, and just simply avoiding. But that's not what's really happening. Most impulses exist for one reason, and it's to make other feelings stop. Whether it's stress, boredom, or even loneliness, especially in today's age. Impulse is emotional relief with a receipt attached. There are different behaviors that you do, but they all have the same function, to make you stop feeling another feeling. Scrolling on TikTok and Instagram says, make this feeling go away, or make me distracted so I can no longer think about it anymore. Spending says, distract me and feed my ego or make me feel better about myself because I have these things. And avoidance simply says, not now. Let's wait another day or another week to do this. And that's where future you really pays. And present bias is the part of your brain that says, future consequences can wait, but the relief is very urgent and you need it now. And that's why future you always ends up paying the consequences for it. And this is the point where most advice completely misses the point. Willpower doesn't just fail because you're weak, it fails because you're using it too late. By the time you think you're deciding something, your nervous system already made that choice internally. Psychologist Jonathan H. describes this as the elephant and the rider. The rider is your rational mind, making logical decisions, articulating himself well, and very small. The elephant is your emotional brain, powerful, massive, and it goes where it wants. The rider may be able to suggest some sort of decisions or suggestions or any sort of direction you want to choose. But when the elephant wants to move, it's going to move, and the rider just has to hold on tight. Logic doesn't lead decisions. Logic justifies decisions that emotions have already approved. That's why you can explain perfectly in your head why something is a bad idea and do it anyways. You weren't really choosing between right and wrong. You were choosing between discomfort now or leaving that to your future self to deal with. And that emotional band-aid that you put on yourself almost wins every single time. And here's what makes this even harder. Your triggers that you experience are specific to you. For some people, it's stress from work deadlines or quotas that they have to reach. And for others is this extreme boredom on a Sunday afternoon where they have nothing to do. And for others, it's loneliness when it gets late at night and you have nobody to talk to. Behaviors may change, but the function is the same. And at the end of the day, you're not solving the problem, but instead you're just numbing the feeling. And once you really understand that, you start to ask yourself, instead of asking yourself, why can't I control myself? You ask yourself, what am I trying to escape? What feeling am I trying to escape? What situation do I not want to open up about to myself? Let me show you the trap. This isn't just random behavior. It's a loop. You go from thought, then you act on that thought in forms of an impulse. Once you take that action, later on, future you regrets it. So you use whatever technique is specific to you to escape from that feeling, not having to deal with it, not having to face the music. And once you finally do escape, you then crave something new. You crave a new thought to continue that cycle. That thought creates discomfort. Discomfort is going to demand an escape from that thought. The escape is going to create more regret, and that regret is going to create more discomfort. And here's what this looks like in real life. You're stressed about a deadline. You feel the urge to check your phone. You then scroll on TikTok or Instagram for 20, 30, or even 40 minutes. And now you feel guilty about wasting that time. And now that guilt is making you uncomfortable. So then you scroll even more to escape the feeling of guilt. So now not only are you behind on work, you're now also anxious at the thoughts that you're having now because you're just continuing to scroll. And that is how the loop forms. And here's the part that no one tells you. Once you take that action, the loop is already running. People think that they lose at that action stage. They don't, because when you really lose, the moment that you really lose is when you start seeking relief, when you prioritize that relief. And guess what, my friends? Effort doesn't break loops, awareness does. Now, here's the part that removes shame completely. Your brain cannot emotionally experience the future. It might understand future consequences intellectually or logically, but it doesn't actually feel them. So when your brain has to choose between immediate relief or abstract future cost, it's gonna choose relief. And it's not because you don't care, it's just that the future just feels so unreal. You're really thinking in the present moment. And that is why you make those decisions. Your brain doesn't betray your future per se, it just doesn't recognize it. And that's present bias at its core. So how do we apply this to our lives and make a difference today? This is the most important shift in the entire video. And it's not visualization, more so it's emotional proximity. Before you act, you force the future into the present moment. Not numbers, not logic, emotion. Instead of saying this costs $300, you say this is future me working extra hard for just 5 minutes of relief. Instead of saying I'll deal with it later, you say I'm choosing stress for future me. And instead of saying I deserve this, you say, am I trading tomorrow's peace for today's distractions? When I started asking myself, is this stress for future me? Am I going to just relay the stress onto the future me a week in advance? My impulse spending dropped by at least 40%. Not because I became more disciplined, but because I made the cost emotionally inconvenient to ignore. And when the future becomes emotionally inconvenient to ignore, relief loses its power, it loses its value. Because the future only wins once it's felt, not just imagined. And to piggyback off that, here's something that no one tells you. Relief-seeking behavior is fast, but it's also very fragile. If you don't act immediately on a decision, and it fades fast. So you don't need better discipline, you need more delay from the decision that you're about to make. You need to create that space. So if you slow the moment, decisions, those emotions that you're feeling, they weaken. And the decision to prioritize future you becomes clearer. So self-control isn't strength, it's more so the timing of things. This is solution number 3, guys. You need to study regret, not just progress. Everyone tracks progress, but very few people track regret. And regret is actually feedback that you can use to improve your life. And here's what this looks like. At the end of the week, I want you to write 3 things. What did I regret this week? When did I feel it? And what emotion triggered it? And after just a month, these patterns become obvious to you. Once you have them written down, you'll notice some patterns. I usually overspend on Thursday nights when I'm burnt out from work, or I scroll for an hour every time I feel lonely after 11 o'clock at night. or I like to avoid tough or hard conversations when I'm already feeling anxious. And once you see that pattern, you're gonna be able to design your life around it, because you can't fix what you don't track. You can't fix something if you have no data, if you have no foundation to improve upon. And motivation inspires, but regret really teaches you what not to do. And pain only repeats when it goes unexamined. Solution number 4, my friends, remove choice, don't trust character. Here's a hard truth for you. Every choice is a chance to fail at something. Systems beat identity, and environment beats intention. If you have to rely on just the willpower to do something, you're already doing it wrong. I want you to design your life so those good choices and those good decisions come default already. Because if you have to choose in that moment, relief-seeking behavior is gonna get a vote. My friends, you will never eliminate present bias, but that's not the goal here. The goal is fewer unchallenged moments. You're not impulsive, you're just relief-seeking. And once you stop fighting yourself and understand where the patterns are and what you're actually doing, those consequences you didn't plan for finally stop showing up uninvited. I hope you liked this video, my friends. I'm gonna be posting a lot more, so stay tuned, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.